One of the reasons for choosing Ylang Ylang essential oil for the Sacral Chakra is how it works on desire, but also balancing the hormones, physical aspects of the Sacral Chakra, but particularly to do with eroticism and our feelings around eroticism, because many of us have complex relationships with the idea of eroticism because of the way that we've been brought up or things that people have said to us over the years. And so I thought I would share some bee wisdom around this because I find this so beautiful. As Melissae, we call this the beloved, this teaching. And well, part of this teaching, it's lots of different teachings woven together, but first I'd like to talk to you about the Melissae at Eryx, which was in Sicily, and how they initiated sailors into the sexual mysteries. And the reason why I want to talk to you about this is because I think it's well known that humans are the only species that really experience guilt, right? And I think it's really beautiful to think about it from a bee perspective, which is a matriarchal environment, and to see their thoughts on it. Because when we start to think about the roles that they play, we can sort of see in Christianity how historically there's been like a Madonna whore aspect. We know now that Mary Magdalene wasn't a whore, but still this idea that she is now the sacred lover or the wife. There's the sexual element to it. Certainly if she had children, there was. And then we also have the Virgin Mary. Interesting that they both have the same name. And within the matriarchal environment of the beehive, there are, at height in the summer, around about 60,000 female bees, one of whom is the queen. The rest are workers, or maybe sometimes two, but usually one. And then there's about 500 drones, the males. And the drones have very few jobs to do except to copulate with the queen. And in fact, it's the virgin princess, obviously. So bees lay a normal, actually, worker bee, and then decide this one's special and fill the cell with loads and loads of royal jelly, and her form will change. And she will become this hypersexual being. And if you've ever looked in a beehive, you will see that she looks different. Excuse me. She looks different to the other bees. She almost looks like an earwig. She's long and thin. And her job is purely to populate the hive. So around about May time, the princesses leave the hive and go flying off, soaring into the air. And this is one of the greatest mysteries to me, because the drones who have all died out over the winter, there's no drones in the hive to tell them. Somehow they all know how to go to the drone congregation site. All of the male bees congregate in this one place and take turns to mate with the queen. And so she has sex with dozens upon dozens of men in one day. And we can see how, that kind of sounds a bit like it might be the Geraldule at Eryx in Sicily. The sailors would come round the Horn of Africa, and Eryx would be the first thing that they would see when they came into Europe. Excuse me, still suffering for a cold. And they would climb these huge rocks. You can still see them today. There's still a castle, a fort at Eryx, not the same temple, but still one there. And hundreds of feet in the air. So like the drones, they climbed up to meet the Melissae, the hypersexual queen. And it said that these priestesses initiated them some way into the sexual mysteries. So we know that on one hand we have these women who have this huge voluptuous relationship with sex, but then after they've mated, and incidentally every male loses its member, falls to its death, so he sacrifices himself to the goddess, and the queen, she might come out again if she doesn't feel like she's banked enough sperm, but she will need so much sperm to last her through the rest of her lifetime. That's a lot of sex. She goes back into the hive, she goes into the darkness, and she'll stay there for the rest of her life. And she becomes then this servant to the colony. And she is everybody's most beloved mother. She's mother to everybody in the colony. And they take really good care of her, nurturing her, feeding her royal jelly, cleaning her, so that all she has to do all day is procreate. And if you don't know, she can make a baby, a brood baby, a bee, from unfertilized eggs. So she chooses, does she use an unfertilized egg to make a drone, a male? Doesn't need many of those, think about it. Or does she use one of her fertilized eggs to make a worker bee? And if you think that, or we call them the sisters actually, which is nicer, isn't it? If you think that, what she does is she goes on and she uses her feet and she uses them like calipers to measure. Okay, that hole is big enough for a nice big drone, unfertilized egg. This is a small hole that the girls have made, the sisters have made me. I would use a fertilized egg. So then she becomes the sacred mother. So she's gone from being the whore of Babylon. We think it probably was the whore of Babylon. I think that's what this was. And then she becomes the great mother. By contrast, the worker bees, the sisters, are all sterile. They will be sterile as long as they can smell queen pheromone that's taken off her mandibles and distributed by the other bees, the attendants around the hive. And basically, queen pheromone says, the queen's in residence, everything's fine, everything's fine. And while that's happening, their story goes on as normal. And they will all have their own jobs. Some feed the drone, the brood, some fetch water, some fan to make it evaporate. The older bees, those who are more than 3 weeks old, they live for about 6 weeks, go out. And they are the foragers. And they become the genitals of the garden. And their job is entirely to have sex. These sterile virgins have sex all of the time. They land on a flower and suck voraciously at the nectar, and they roll themselves ecstatically, vibrating to make themselves electrostatically magnetic to the pollen, and they cover themselves with gold. Sounds like a priestess when you think about it. Cover yourself with gold. This is what they do. And so these virgin, sterile bees will have sensuous abandon all around the garden all of the day. So if you haven't noticed, look for the bees and see and watch. Some species are more delightful to watch than others. Honeybees, you tend to just see them kind of suckling. They don't get so excited. Bumblebees don't get quite so covered in pollen. But watch little carder bees. Watch little mason bees, the leafcutter bees. They just get covered in gold. Just beautiful. And so we have this dichotomy, because are they the virgins or are they the whores? Is the queen the whore, or is she the Sacred Mother? Or are we all both? And this is the imaginations of the Sacral Chakra. What is it I want? Not what happens outside there. What do I desire? And this can be creative, because of course these are our creative organs. Can't remember if I've said that the Sacral Chakra, if you want to know exactly where it should be, use 2 fingers, put them just below your navel, and then you can feel it there. Actually, sometimes it can be quite hard. And so I won't use that because I have diluted my Ylang Ylang down into, it's gone, sesame seed oil. And I like to do this, but obviously I'm not going to put it on my nice frock, on the ends of one's fingers. And what's interesting is if you look at the mudras, I'm not going to steal them because they're not mine, but they talk about how this is the energy of water. And so sitting like this, thinking about, contemplating about sacred sexuality and the feelings that maybe you have about guilt, about how you feel about your own sacred sexuality. We'll talk about this more in the Jasmine video, because we'll talk about the dark feminine and her aspects to sacred sexuality. But if you want to do some breathing work with this, what's fantastic is to do a kind of a blend between yoga practices and bee shaman practices. And so in bee shamanism, we always work the perineum. So this is really good from the point of view of helping to activate Kundalini. And so yoga would say, first we breathe in, then we breathe out, and we pull up our perineum. Oh, we're already there. So we breathe in, and as we breathe out, pull up our perineum. It's great to smell your oil, your chosen sacral oil. In this case, I'm using Ylang Ylang. So breathe in and lock and pull up your sacral chakra as you breathe out. And if you can, imagine a great big orange ball in front of your belly. The more you do it, the more you'll be able to see. Actually, a really good tip is I'm using a ring light, and the ring light actually gives you that effect. So because I'm looking at it in the brightness, when I close my eyes, all I can see is an orange ring. So if you can imagine to move that down onto your sacral chakra, look at the light, and you'll be able to see it and activate it by pulling in as we breathe out. So breathe in, pull up, and breathe out. And keep breathing this beautiful Ylang Ylang oil that says you're balanced, you're sensuous, and it's fine. I got so carried away with my stories, I completely forgot to say to you the whole purpose of this work about working with the chakras is a body of work that I've created called the Sensorium approach to working with essential oils for the chakras, which comes out in September, and then will be followed by Luminous Garments, which is work with the etheric bodies. Now, in Sensorium approach doesn't touch the bee medicine side. That would get way too complicated, but I will be doing lots more bee medicine work. So if you're interested, obviously like and subscribe to the channel, but also in the description there is a link to my email list, which will start sending out purely work to do with spiritual aspects of healing with essential oils. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I hope to see you in some of the other videos. Have a look in the description for others to do with essential oils for the sacral chakra.